Welcome to this webinar again. This was a high demand webinar as requested by our members and our friends in fraternity. So let me introduce first of all the facilitator who will be going to take this webinar. His name is Mr. Shripad, and if I talk about his education, then he is from HRM from Mumbai University, professionally groomed in IIM Kolkata. So education and professional grooming is very much sound. If we talk about his association with organization, so I think national head of sales training of SBI Life Insurance will be the only thing if I say, because that is more than enough. Yeah. So if you are heading sales training of any organization like SBI Life Insurance, that is more than enough. But that was not enough for Mr. Shripad. He started his own venture, and then if I start telling about him, that will take not less than half an hour. I only say in one word for Shripad is that he is a visionary. As Rajat started that he saw something 10 years earlier, and that is why the session's name is Future Trends. So he's a visionary. He saw and calculated everything about the running and development 10 years
Please
earlier.
put
So
mute everyone, mute everyone, mute everyone.
we are going to have this session about what he actually saw
खाना है
earlier
कल
and
पर
how
दो
he
दिन
can
पहले तो
help
खाया
us,
था
Mute
how
everyone,
he
mute
can help
everyone.
us to have this situation and to cope up this, to know the trends of coming up in HN learning and development. Shripad, Sachin, all yours. Mr. Shripad,
Shripad, unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me better?
yes, Shripad.
Yeah, yeah. So,
The
is
platform
my
is all yours, Shripad. Please
yeah,
show us
thank
the
you.
path of future trend.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me loud and clear? So I can hold mic this way. Sandeep, just a quick feedback. Loud. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
But your face has to surface a little more.
Sorry, my face has to.
Face surface little more ahead. Up.
Is that better?
Yeah, yeah. This is okay.
Okay, some extra light if you want. Somebody, Alok is requesting. Rick, somebody is requesting annotation, which I am declining. Please, could you just, you know, just stay focused so that we could, go ahead with the webinar. Thank you, Sandeep, for that wonderful introduction. Though one of the things I would say is I was national head of sales training and e-learning both. I was the one who actually built up SBI Life team from scratch. Only two trainers were there prior to me taking over. And one of our colleagues, Shrudipto, was invited to be a part of the e-learning team there. So we've set up e-learning team in SBI Life in 2007. So this is where the importance was loud and clear. But of course, whatever happened later is a matter of development. So I won't go into talk or talk about that past. Uh, this is where if you have feedbacks like you can't hear me or anything, I would request Sandeep to particularly handle this and help the participants out so that I can continue to deliver. If I am inaudible or video issues from my side, then probably it's a good idea to let me know. I will sort it out. One of I think Sandeep or Rajat,
I'll
as
take
you
care,
have done.
Shripad. Please carry on.
Yeah, yeah. So at this I had shared it earlier also. This I'm sharing it now as well. I have made some changes, by the way, from previous webinars. So because I never do same thing twice, I always try to improvise, see what I can do better. So this is where one of the disclaimers that I would like to share is some of the views are mine, and it is not necessary that you accept. Secondly, I may make some observations about certain things, qualifications, etc. But they are again not to be construed as a direct, remark on somebody else's, because end of the day, you guys are also experienced guys. You guys have also been into this industry for long, so I leave it to you to judge them into the better light. So this is where the framework, since it has been much in demand, I've also had some offline questions queries. So I thought it is better if I elaborate some things a bit more last time also when I was talking to all of you, I realized that we had to rush up a few things. So with your permission, with your support, I would like to elaborate few things for about 60 minutes and extend question answer for next 15 minutes. So in all, I would require support for about 75 minutes. I hope do have your permission to go ahead and do that. So if there are any pressing concerns, please tell me so I can adjust my pace and speed and close it earlier if it is required by everyone. I'm okay with that. Questions to be in the end, obviously, because the flow, perhaps there may be some questions which may get answered into the flow itself. So if the questions don't get answered into the flow, feel free to ask me in the end. And like what we did in past, Sandeep, you have done a very great support there by compiling the questions. I think that was a great system. Please continue to help me with that. My request to you. Video and mic obviously remains mute. Uh, what's the agenda for the day? Agenda is very simple. Let's start with something called Future Shock, which I may elaborated last time, which is my favorite thing. The Future Shock is already being witnessed, so let's talk more about that. Look back to look ahead is something what have we faced it and what are we going to what have we done as a result of that. Then we'll talk about important trends. I have now made some more changes here because some important trends, yes, last time I thought should have been highlighted. So there is a change here as well. Then we're talking about hard facts is a new addition from previous because I also realized that there are some facts that all of you must know because today everybody is talking about e-learning, technology-based learning, digital learning, etc., etc. But these hard facts are not known to you, or perhaps not known to you in the form that they might hit you. So my endeavor, my efforts, my efforts would be to actually make you aware these facts into the truest sense, so that you don't have a misunderstanding, but you have at least a sunshine clear view of them. And obviously, then we are talking about some of the strategies, future strategies. Here I have also added one or two more. So for those who attended last time, it is improvised one, much improvised in terms of the date, content, improvised in terms of the look and feel, improvised in terms of more value addition for those who are attending for the first time. Obviously, it's gonna be a different experience for you. So, with your permission, let's go ahead and let's get going. My man, my favorite author, my my favorite person who visionary, I would say, is Alvin Toffler, and he wrote a bestseller book called The Future Shock. I'm sure many of you would have read it, or if you haven't, it is still relevant. Published in 1980s, around that, but some of that is still relevant. So he defines future shock in a very cool way. He says that future shock is the shattering stress by, see, once again, Sanjeev, no request entertained for screen annotation. So future shock is the shattering stress and disorientation that we induce in individuals by subjecting them to too much change in too short a time. Here, just a small change is instead of we induce, Corona induced in individuals and companies by subjecting them to too much change in too short time. So probably, this is where we all are in a state of future shock. Future shock. So let's find out what this future shock is. Let's find out what this future shock means to us, and let's then keep on building it upon it. So we all know our life these days has been zoom in, zoom out. Perhaps Webex in, Webex out for Rajat and Sandeep. But I have been conducting on a variety of platform, and I've used Zoom, Webex, and other tens of platform, including so-called Indian Namaste.in. Anyways, this is not the place to discuss that. But yeah, I mean, 6 months, 6 months ago. Hello. Yeah, 6 months ago. Yes. 6 months ago, if somebody had told that, you are suddenly going to forget everything and be confined into your homes and everything will be online, you would have laughed at that person and immediately you would have sent him to a place called Thane in Mumbai, which is where you have a mental asylum. So this is where something which was unimaginable has come true today. Zoom in, zoom out. All of us, perhaps all of us, including corporate bosses, trainers, students, everyone is today, rushing to go into Zoom. I told you, Zoom stock, Zoom as a software company did a record business and posted about some millions of dollars as profit in its entire timeline. So this is where life has been zoom in, zoom out, but future is here already. And what is that future which we are seeing today? The world has changed. Now, this is not a cliche. This is not just a sentence from the boardroom. You would agree with me when I tell you that the world pre-corona and world post-corona are two different things. In that sense, I have said the world has changed. The world pre-corona, sometimes we wonder, is it are we the same people who have been, who were enjoying things, who were going outing and driving and partying hard and blah blah blah, and suddenly now the whole world is different. Students are also in a kind of awe because they are now suddenly cramming everything digitally. So the world has changed, right? Now, how much has it changed? We all know. So, if I were to describe what I did last time also, if a second standard student is simply put up into the eighth standard, he would suddenly be confused. He will find too much of an information overload and he would then be completely confused. That's how the world has graduated. That's how the world has been pushed into the future. Pushed into the future. So basically, I was listening to one speaker the other day, and this is where he said it very beautifully. He said the change that we were envisaging 10 to 15 years time span has happened in last 60 days. Let me repeat. The change with that we were envisioning in next 10 to 15 years has actually happened in last 60 days. So you can imagine what would have taken, 10 to 15 years has so rapidly came in like a hurricane and actually uprooted, disoriented, distorted all our, senses, perceptions, and it has put into a kind of a tailspin. And this is where we are facing a lot of overload of information, overload of, channels, overload of technology, and blah and blah. Now, why this has happened? A, because we were unaware, and B, we unprepared. We were unaware and we were unprepared. This is true. As trainers, I have been attending a lot of webinars. As for my own development, also, I have been attending a lot of webinars, and I see whenever I log in, I see a lot of scenarios where trainer is struggling, saying, am I audible? Am I, how do I add this? How do I share my screen and things like that? And then once again, trainer is struggling with, how do I mute and mute it? And somebody saying, hold your mic this, then move ahead, move back. And then poor trainer seems to be, lost. I'm sure those of you who are conducting webinars or online sessions would be feeling it this way. I have no doubt, believe me, I have no doubt, you are all good trainers, you are all good educational professionals. Given the classroom, you would rock. But suddenly you have to adapt to so many things. And that has actually made us look like amateurs suddenly in the digital world. Suddenly that has made us look like amateurs struggling and trying to still make an effective point. Okay, to complicate matters for that, all our exercises, games, and things have actually gone for a toss. Classroom games don't work virtually. Exercises, all our jokes, etc. Our, what do I say, prepared punches, they cannot literally work on in that intensity on the virtual platform because we don't even know when I crack a joke, you are laughing or you're sleeping or you're crying. So I'm totally unprepared. I don't even know how to deliver the same module in which I'm an expert. So suddenly my expertise, although it is here, seems to be zero in the digital world or seems to be very low in the digital world. I know it sounds harsh, but fact of life is that this is because we are unprepared to face the digital onslaught. We are unprepared to face the digital onslaught. And that's where this digital onslaught has literally impacted us, right? Uh, all of us, or rather, tons and tons of most of us, are kind of facing a digital fatigue these days. Tired of screen, tired of juggling between softwares, tired of, not getting the feedback that we are so used to in the classroom or so used to in the training rooms, and so many other challenges to face, including bandwidth and internet and so many others. So basically, we're tired and we are unprepared. That's where we are future shocked here. Other thing is, it's not just us or our participants who are also in the future shock. It's the companies who are future shock too. And I have elaborated that, so I won't get into much of this. But companies today don't know what happens next. I have I've been reading McKinsey, I've been reading various other global consultancies and what they've been talking about, and everybody seems to be kind of saying things will have to be worked out to see the trends coming in and things like that. So that's one. Second thing is companies today are faced with lot of strategic decision making. uh, I teach competitive strategy. I teach in one of the topmost business schools in the country. So this is where we were talking about Michael Porter before the corona started. And today when I go back to my students, I have to tell them that listen guys, Michael Porter or any other model or any other pastel and all those things today, all the tools are literally in suspense or in abeyance. Why? Because today the situation is becoming complex. Yet there are some good trends, but companies today will have to figure out many strategic challenges, including rebooting themselves first, and then obviously getting into the business zone, and then obviously thriving, adapting, etc. So companies are in future shock too. And as I shared earlier, VUCA world, VUCA world. This is a classic boardroom term where we or strategy term where we talk about four characteristics of the world which was pre-corona: volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So we were talking about a world pre-corona which was becoming volatile. Things were changing rapidly, which was uncertainty was looming larger than before. It was complex, no doubt, and it was, what do I say, ambiguous as well. So here we're talking about a VUCA world, which has been a very complex world. So a world which was earlier complex has become even more dynamic, complex, etc. So I call it VUCA level 3. If we were earlier at level 1 or level 0, it is now VUCA level 3. So basically, when we talk about the entire future, which is right now knocking our doorsteps or knocking our door, is this: a changed world, a sudden push into the new realities, and that too when we are unaware and unprepared. So if I were to draw upon that skill matrix, if you remember, unconscious, incompetent to conscious, competent, and conscious, unconscious, competent. So if I were to draw on it, we are at level 0, unconsciously, which it has hit us, and we don't even know how to prepare for that. So let us now look back a little and try to see if there are some trends or if there are some things that we can learn from past, so that what news, what surety, what assurance can we look at? Have we faced this kind of things earlier? Have we really been into this situation and we have bounced back, etc.? Well, past learnings are amply clear. Number one is business moves in cycles. Business moves in cycles. So we know that there is up, there is a valley, there is again a peak, there is again a valley. Uh, it's just that earlier the changes were gradual or over a period of time, but now it's like a choppy ride. If you see the Sensex these days, it's choppy, literally choppy. So basically, there are business cycles theory tells us that there is, today we are at the valley, but tomorrow there is going to be an upswing. Tomorrow there's going to be a peak. Now, if you look at the numbers, billions of dollars are being withdrawn from the developing countries. Stock markets are tumbling. But does that mean the businesses are closing down? No, businesses are simply reorienting, reworking their strategies, and trying to make sense out of the situation. So, in simple words, what it means is businesses are going to take a little time to come out of shocks, but when they come out, the obvious thing will be they'll try to catch up. They'll try to catch up on what they have lost, and once again, there's going to be a huge boom. Okay, so there is business cycles, and today we are at the valley, but there is going to be a peak tomorrow. And how to into future in tomorrow, I have no clue at the moment, frankly, because it all depends on on a thing called corona vaccine, and the corona vaccine is nowhere in sight at the moment, though there are a lot of news happening. So I don't know at the moment, but I know for sure, and I can bet my every penny on that, that this is business cycle which is going to go up. The second clear trend, is L&D is down but not out. L&D is down and not out. We may be facing downsizing, we may be facing. So the other day, Google's Asia Pacific OD expert was interacting, and she made a very cryptic remark, and that was very telling remark. She said that I understand people still need learning and development, but do they really need training and development department for it? You understand? So she had a very pertinent question. She said that people need learning and development, but do we really need a learning and development department for it? Interesting remark. I leave it for you to think about it. But companies are now asking a very simple question: do we really need posh offices? Do we really need those so-called training conferences where money was lavishly spent on fun and enjoyment more than training? So I guess that all will stop. Learning and development budgets will see a crunch, but companies cannot do away with learning and development. In fact, they will need it more. They will need much more. One of the training, chief learning officers was, from a financial services company was talking about the strategies that they are cooking up. And a very good remark that she made was that today we are training like we never trained before. We are training almost 60,000 people with all that we have got, and we are hitting them hard in terms of the training because this is the right time we can get them, skill them, so that when the things windows open up, we will definitely send our trained people out there. So in fact, we are training more than doing business. Interesting remark once again. So companies will see this downfall in different ways when it comes to learning and development. But what we need to know is they can rather reduce the budget, but they can never take L&D out of business. It has to be there, it will be there, and there is no doubt about that. So past has told us that even in the worst of the scenarios, of course, I can talk about worst business cycles, including, let's say, 2000, 2008. But this one, the Corona one, is the mother of 2008. That's what they say. Yeah, almost $15 trillion lost in last 45, 60 days, and a huge business loss staring. So it's a mother of 2008 crisis. I am not going deeper into that because numbers are out there on the internet. See it for yourselves. Well, coming back to the discussion here, when we talk about the entire businesses, they're down but not out. Learning development is down but not out. Next, a very clear thing from past is L&D's. Both the things have come together. L&D has been successfully able to adapt and evolve in different business scenarios, environments. They have used various, they've shown quite a bit openness of mind and adapting abilities. So I have a faith in this group. I have a faith in my learning and development community. I have faith in all of us because we are the ones who have demonstrated in past. We are the ones who have actually seen those ups and downs, and I'm sure, I have no doubt that we will be the ones who will pull these things out and shape up the things to come in. And I'm not saying this as a paper talk. I have a full confidence and I have full clarity about this. And if not we, who else? That's the next question. If not now, when? Right? So this is where in past L&D has shown openness. They have leveraged things like technology. They have leveraged things like telecom, and they have actually adapted, evolved with newer methodologies like blended methodologies, and they have still been able to deliver value to the businesses. So another clear learning from past is we have been there, we have evolved, we have adapted, and we are we will also do that now that the challenge has come on our plate. And finally, innovation and growth mindset is always been there with learning and development. We have always shown in past, and I'm only speaking about learning and development as a fraternity worldwide. I'm not talking about business, etc. We have shown a tremendous innovation. Some of the top companies have come and flourished in some of the difficult times, like LinkedIn. If you see 2008, Adobe Captivate, in 2002. We're talking about Coursera 2011, Udemy 2010. Those were the times when we were still recovering, we were still bruised, we were still down, but we still accepted the challenge and we bounced back. Correct? So if you look at it, innovation and growth have been our strengths. And this time also, I don't see any reason why we would not use them, or why we should shy away from using that. So I believe the past tells us very clearly that we have faced business cycles, we have withstood the business cycles with all our confidence and all our abilities, and we have emerged out as successful and stronger than before. And I have no doubt about my ability, your ability, and ability of our fraternity, that is learning and development. So with this, let me go a little bit ahead. I wanted to show you this time also. So how has the e-learning evolved? Because now everyone talks about training and development as e-learning. No, it is not. But let's still just say focus on e-learning. And we see e-learning based on the Google Ngram citations. We see that a lot of that has happened in 1990s, around 2000, and it is flourishing. Correct. So, what are those typical journey? How has the journey come so far? I'm not going to talk years of journey. I'm going to only talk about last 30 years or so, 30, 40 years tops, and that too in just one slide. That's it. Just because to tell you that we have been there, and we have grown and evolved. So in the 1980s to 2000, remember the CD-ROMs and floppies and blah and blah. So we were simply distributing information from one place to the other. That is where we had limited technology, limited telecom, yet we delivered and we created beautiful cities, etc. So then around 2000, and these are not hard and fast timelines. I'm just taking indicative blocks. Please get me right. The second thing is a period of 2001 to 2008 where we started talking about more of structured approaches to e-learning. So it was not just creating some PowerPoint. It was not just creating some writing a document here and there. It was more like a module. It was more like the storyboarding. It was more like some experience. And around 2002, we started thinking in terms of systemic approach called LMS, Learning Management System. So what we also call it virtual dynamic learning environment. So Moodle, which is one of the oldest LMSs in the world, is about what 18, 19 years old now. So this is where we started thinking about e-learning as a structured and very focused approach. So 2001 to 2008 was that period. We then said about 2008 to 2017, where you saw rise of your Coursera, LinkedIn, Udemy, Khan Academy, Unacademy, and many other things. Typically, Unacademy is recent, Khan Academy is earlier. So this is where 2008 to 2007 is, I could say, the growth started picking up. Growth started picking up, and by 2020, I mean, we were already into growth trajectory. But although the world is devastated today, although the world is facing severe issues today, one positive side, it has put e-learning, it has put training into its rightful place. It has put the calamity has put e-learning and training it into right place. In fact, the kind of fillip or support that e-learning has received today is phenomenal. I couldn't see that much coming in next 10 years also. So this is where I think I would rather say the journey so far has been a growth trajectory, but now it is hyperdrive. Hyperdrive is a sudden high acceleration. So in simple words, we are now going to face this hyperdrive. Now look at today's announcement by the finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. She has announced that one nation, one portal, and there is a channel for every standard. And she's also highlighted that top 100 universities are given automatic permission. Earlier, there was a long route. I have worked on one such, qualification completely online, and I face humongous uh, governmental hurdles. But today, look at finance minister sitting and announcing it in the press conference that top 100 universities can float online qualifications automatically without any pre-approval by 31st May itself. And today we are on 17th May. Can you beat that? Can you really imagine the government officials talking in such urgency like a corporate boss? Right? So there is sudden explosion in terms of e-learning, and that's where, my friends, here is one golden suggestion. If you can't see the opportunity, open up your eyes. This is the opportunity, and that's going to be never before opportunity. All right? And how quickly you adapt, how quickly you evolve will decide how much success or how much money you will make in the times to come. Let me go ahead. See the money that people have made in last about 5 years. Uh, John Purcell, 17 lakh students, out of which at least about 10 lakhs are paid students, and for each student, John Purcell makes about $3 to $5 per student. $3 to $5. So we're talking about 10 lakh into $5. It's about 50 lakh dollars. Crazy, but he earns it, and he just has made courses once and put it up there. So it's truly making money when you are asleep. That's what we say in e-learning. All right. Same Rob Percival, John Portilla. I can give you many examples of that. But did they earn it on the day one? No, they did not. But they were quick enough to jump onto the bandwagon of e-learning long ago, about 5, 6 years ago. And this is where today they are reaping the benefit. They were early starters, but who don't worry, because who knew that there's going to be unprecedented opportunity? They made money in the normal times. So how much money can you make in unprecedented opportunity times? Think for yourselves. I'm not here to give you any estimates, right? Okay, so the good news from past is this too shall pass. So I believe, if I were to just put it in this way, that uh, we past tells us very clearly, and I do firmly believe that the calamity will pass, the opportunity has knocking, and get ready, get going. So what is the mantra for from past? Three-step response. The past tells us to give three-step response. The response will happen in three steps if we go by what has happened in past. So the first step is survival. When a calamity hits you, you battle for survival. You try to stay afloat. The once you are afloat, once you've got the grip of things, now you are sure that now my survival is taken care of. You start looking for adapting and trying to make sense of the things. Like many of us are now saying, what can I do in e-learning? What can I think about? And now that I'm on Zoom, how can I make money out of Zoom? I get a lot of queries saying, how do I monetize Zoom? Somebody is an expert who says I'm writing a lot of blogs and I have 70,000 readers and blah and blah. So how do I monetize that? So what are these expressions? These are now adapting and trying to get into a newer order of things in order to thrive. So past gives us three-step response. Past three-step responses always work. If we look at past, one is survival, staying afloat. Second is adapting quickly, and third is then trying to find out opportunities to thrive. So that brings me to the end of my first part. Is this going comfortable? Is this going up to the expectation? Please type Y in the chat box if it is so. Can you do that, please, quickly? One of the observations, Sandeep, I think the participants are capped at 100 only, looks like.
And 100 capping is there. This is what we observed today.
Yeah, because it looks like, so I haven't seen that. Can't join, limited to 100, that's everyone is saying. All right. So, Rajat, I would just request you to post saying that the recording will be available so people should not feel disheartened.
Definitely.
Yes, the
Sure.
recordings are going on. Recordings are going on. What we can see now, we can see 101, 102.
Okay, so it's going on. Okay, it's crossing 100. Okay, so looks like Zoom, they have increased the capacity on their own. Good for us. Yeah, so if you can drop a message saying 100 cap is no longer there, people may still come back. All
So
right.
we have a
So
good example. We have a good example of future trend. Like last time it was 80. Now this time it is 100. They would have crossed the 150 today because I'm getting so many WhatsApp. So the future trend is always growing. So this is a good example.
okay, I take that. Thank you so much. Shall we continue? Thank you for your yeses, and thank you for somebody who said yes, yes, yes. I am delighted. Rocking. Thank you. Great.
Shripad,
Let's go to the. Yep.
Shripad, just in 1 minute, can you please explain in simple example, with simple example that information to collaboration? Just one example, anything.
From information
Collaboration.
All right. So in
Yes.
simple word, earlier we were simply passing on the information in the capsule form in the given storage devices, and technology was also more like an information storage, retrieval, and consumption. But today I'm not just doing this, but I'm also getting learners to involve, getting them click, doing simulations, giving them avatar, interacting with them simultaneously, the co-creation of the learning material through blogs and through collaborative classes, forums is happening. That is collaboration. I'm coming to that a little ahead also. I hope this explains.
Yeah.
Earlier, in simpler words,
Thank.
earlier it was one-way traffic. Today it's two-way collaboration and partnership. In simple words, partnership with learners and stakeholders. Right. So from a mere information disbursement utility called floppy CDs, we have come a long, long way through virtual dynamic learning environment, VDLE or DVLE. All right. So let me just go ahead and remind you of the great man who once said that nobody knows the future with certainty. We can, however, identify ongoing patterns. So let me come to the patterns. Questions, of course, I'm taking in the end. Yeah, I could see a question on gamification, which is quite a favorite of mine. I'll come back to that. Thank you for such a nice, interesting question. Okay, cool. So basically, nobody knows the future, and now nor do I. Though you have called me visionary, by the something. This is something which comes that I can see trends, patterns, and in my career, I have acted on that and I have benefited. And so what I have built has come true. So yeah, in past sense, I can say that whatever I have proposed has helped. But as the mutual funds say, past performance is no guarantee of future. Yeah. So I'm not, giving guarantees here, but I'm definitely here to share what I see, what I definitely believe on. So, what are the key learning and development trends? Here, I propose to spend about another 5-10 minutes more. So, the first key trend is your role is going to change. Mark my words, your role is going to change. No longer we would be trainers who, like in the classroom perspective, no doubt, no longer will be teachers also in the classroom perspectives. Because today, your classroom time is going to shrink. Today your classroom itself is going to change. So earlier we were used to brick and mortar model of the learning. Brick and mortar in simple words is classroom, physical walls and chairs and blah and blah. So we thought of games, we thought of in exercises, we even went outside and we talked about OMDP's, outbound management development programs. I don't know how that's going to work in the future, but classrooms are going to shrink, and so is your role going to change. So, from a teacher, you are now going to use the digital enablements, technology, and e-learning tools to design an experience and kindle the curiosity among the learners. And that's what the hole in the wall experiment actually was. Dr. Shugato Mitra, one of the leading educationists, has done this experiment uh, around 1999 or so. Around different places in India, they put computers in, especially in slums. Delhi, they had put in Kalkaji. So basically, they monitored it with the help of a camera and to see who is using it and how much using it and what is happening. And they realized that kids were the ones who came in quickly and experimented and learned very rapidly. At some locations, they even found out that kids even taught others. So one of the golden learning of that experiment way back in 1919, repeated in Cambodia in 2004 also, is that people love to be self-taught if they are interested. If people are interested, no matter what, they will learn. So our role now will be to get them interested in a digital or a virtual world. Our role will be to facilitate their movement, development, and growth in using the digital medium as opposed to the physical medium. So we are going to be digital facilitators, whatever name you can call it. I'm not into the naming game, but typical titles like digital facilitator, online tutor, online educator, or digital enablers, or coach, or a teacher. So, for example, I would love to call myself digital coach. I don't know what that means at the moment, but yet the name. Just joking. So basically, when we talk about your role, it's going to change from a mere delivery person to an enabler. A lot of things will be taken over by machine. So, for example, when we do consult educational institutions, we tell them, okay, look at a typical faculty member today. Earlier, it was 90% delivery, 10% non-teaching work. Today, it's almost 50% non-teaching work and 50% classroom teaching. That's the role change that has happened over last so many years for them. But if you take care of that non-teaching part with the help of technology, then you can free themselves. You can actually give them more meaningful, more developmental role, which is the facilitator and growth enabler. And today there are tools that exist. So I have had musical performers, musicians who are teaching on the Skype or web conferencing. I have had a childhood buddy of mine is well-known chess trainer in the world who has been coaching online for years now. Online. Yes, when we were thinking about internet as a browsing tool only, he was the one who gave up his job and started coaching. And today he has the laugh. He has the last laugh because he he's been used to that kind of lifestyle which we are facing as a challenge. He doesn't get out of the house. He starts every day at different time slots. He has students over 100 countries and gets entire income in dollars, and that too he doesn't have to file GST. All right. So your role will change. That's the key trend. Get ready for a change role. Second thing, from classroom to dynamic virtual learning environment or LMS or LXP. So classrooms have been there and we've been so used to it for a long time. Now classrooms have suddenly had to go on the backstage and online has come in front. So tomorrow's classroom we don't know until the world is declared safe out of this you know pandemic. It does appear that e-learning will eat into a huge share of classroom learning. And it's just a rough estimate. Earlier, if classroom was about 80% and online was about 20%, we could see a trend reversing into 60% of online and probably 40% of classroom. But who knows what? It all depends on to what extent the institution digitizes it. And as if we go by the FM's announcements today, top 100 universities would definitely be aggressively getting into a heavy digitalization because this is where a lot of cost saving is. This is where a lot of enablement is. Uh, a prolific speaker I was listening to, he said the jobs will be redistributed. Earlier, we used to go to workplace and then we used to work there and earn our money. But here is a golden opportunity where the job distribution will be more regionally scattered. The providers will be regionally scattered, and simply there'll be more opportunities than before. Understand? There'll be he projects that there'll be more opportunities. Ganesh Natarajan is his name, one of the good speakers, thinkers. Ganesh believes that there'll be more jobs than before. There'll be lesser work conflict because people will be working from remote locations rather than coming together and working. There'll be lesser time wastage, and this is where he says uh, the same would be when I apply this to the learning environment, perhaps the teacher student relationship also would be different. So you will have to get used to DVLE or dynamic virtual learning environment or VDLE. The way you put it is virtual dynamic learning environment. So be ready for that. Get familiar with the LMSs and start getting a grip on that because tomorrow, day after tomorrow, in future, your school, your employer, your college, whatever it is, they would ask you to use this to teach. Instance to practice of past was distributing feedback forms. Then trainer is to bring it home, then punch it into Excel or upload it into Excel, then analyze. Everything is fast now. All students will do is get a link, login, analysis is on your table instantly. Instantly. So likewise, many changes are going to come thanks to the dynamic learning environment. So get used to it. That's the second feature. The third trend is what's your business model? They're going to ask you. Earlier, as individuals, we were happily, going and meeting corporates, saying, I'm a freelancer and I will give me classroom participants, or as a teacher, as you might say, I'm a teacher and I would like to teach in the school or colleges or whatever it is. But now I think, what's your business model going to be? Because teaching in the classroom we have seen will be limited or fewer and fewer. So online, if you have to teach or be a freelancer, think about what model are you going to really put into place. So last time also I had highlighted one is a cost model where you talk about three sub models like free, freemium, and premium model. The second is experience based. So you create your own dynamic learning environment, invite people to be a part of it. So what Netflix does essentially, or what where they say try this Prime, try this free, and get this experience of the whole model, and then be with us. So, what is your business model? You'll have to rework your business model. The model that you've been deploying so far may adapt, may will have to be adopted, or may not, may even need to be changed. Right. So that's a clear trend. We'll think about business model again. The TNI cycle, TNI design delivery cycle will change completely. So earlier, as we all know, we all have been, there. We used to say that go to the client, meet people, carry out virtual interviews. Sorry, carry out actual interviews, not virtual. Sorry, and this is where we used to do this and then do this end-to-end process. Companies specialize in that. There are providers who charge money at different stages, including us. We have done that also in past. But can I do that now? I don't know. Whether it has to be virtually adapted, and if for a virtual adaptation, the companies may still pay, but then you will have to be quick in terms of designing the pre-training, during training, and post-training interventions, and creating as an end-to-end package to be offered to the client, and that too a different package possibly for different clients. That means you will have to be digitally very fast and smooth, or you have to, as I'll share in a short while, we you will have to have a collaboration with the providers who will take care of all this digital aspects. So this calls for agility, this calls for flexibility, this calls for sharpness, and this calls for turning around very quickly and rapidly, because when everyone is enabled or powered by technology, then it is how fast you use it to deliver the goods. In a manual stream, it was very simple, but now with technology assisted thing, it will change. So change in the TNI design delivery process will happen. Perhaps change in the user expectations is inevitable. You look at your own kid at back home. You give him some very dry, dull kind of a video, and kid would want to change it immediately. But when the kid is, let's say, watching some cartoon or some, if the kid is a teenager, then he or she is watching Insta or anything, they endlessly sit and keep on flipping things up there. There is another observation at back home you must have seen. If they are playing game, online game like PUBG, they are totally drowned into it because of the immersing experience it provides. But sorry to say, look at some of the presentations of our own fraternity members. I'm not talking about my or yours or anyone, but just open up your eyes, go back in past and see the kind of presentations we have made, see the kind of layouts that we have, see the kind of font combinations, and it's nothing short of torture. I have seen some of the senior trainers who telling me that ये PowerPoint वगैरह तो मेरे बस की बात नहीं, मैं classroom में जाऊंगा, I would start impromptu, I will navigate, and I know how to handle it. Okay, no problem, sir, as you wish. I don't go and tell them that the learners are expecting this, because they need to understand. And today's learners in the digital environment would expect a lot more polish, a lot more finesse, and a lot more style with you. So this is where you will have to up your digital quotient or design quotient both, and make things more appealing, beautiful, and nice. Because on an average, I must tell you, the attention span on a video is about what? Hardly 2 or 3 minutes. You have to do it there, otherwise you will go the Coursera way. You see some of the Coursera videos are long, boring, 15-20 minutes videos where the person is talking with a very straight face. Not even a monkey would move on his face. Such videos can be tolerated only by those who are extremely interested because of the person. Otherwise, those who are not interested would go to sleep. So user expectations, users will expect a international class, users would expect an highly engaging design and experience both. Be ready for that. So you will have to learn PowerPoint tricks, you will have to learn design tricks, you will have to master design considerations, the F pattern, the A pattern, the Z pattern of designing. Maybe some other day we could have a session on designing patterns there if you wish to. But visual, the three V's of Dr. Mehrabian, if you remember. Of course, they're not quoted in this context, but visual, vocal, verbal, if I were to borrow from Dr. Mehrabian, they are very relevant here. Your holistic experience of training should be visual, vocal, and verbal, all three. And thanks to technology, you can now animate, you can now create simulations, you can create branches and learning maze, etc. So, true to this, use technology to create immersing, engaging user experience. That should be your, action point. Coming back to some more trends here. This I had shared earlier. I'll go a bit faster on this. I have about 9 to 10 minutes to go, so I'll finish in that. I do respect your time. So this is where new players, new impact. There will be a lot of consolidations, mergers, because as you see, thousands of e-learning applications, thousands of providers, and at the same time, we have to do a lot of patchwork. So, for instance, if I were to make a session on Zoom today, I would probably be using different applications to create this experience for you. And the research also says it very clearly. So it says that on an average, a person uses about 11 different applications to create his e-learning material or stack. So now, future, they would move towards more of a consolidated suite or a software, which will do multiple things for you. Already, most of the LMSs do that for you, but we will see more and more sophistication, more and more advances there. So get familiar with such a thing. By the way, the biggies are also going to enter into a big way. Facebook has already announced, because of which Zoom stock fell by about 7%. Microsoft has made it very clear. They had a project called Microsoft. What they call it? I used that way back, way back. I stopped because they discontinued it. But now they have announced the plans to restart it. And when biggies like Microsoft come in, the market is going to be more like a upside down kind of thing. Get ready for that. The next thing I would rather say is your area of expertise is going to change. Believe me, this is where what leadership are we talking about when there are no followers around me? So perhaps your leadership will have to be changed into digital leadership now, or a remote leadership. We talking about sales. When I don't have a client sitting in front of me, somebody should come something like a virtual selling skills model or virtual relationship model. So probably you will have to relook at what you're offering and see how it is going to translate virtually, and more importantly, what needs it's going to satisfy. Because end of the day, it's needs. What problem you solve for the customer. So if you are able to solve this problem of e-selling, if you are able to solve this problem of e-performance management, you're able to solve this problem of e-relationship management, you have a model they're willing to buy. And there you can charge by licenses, there you can charge by lump sum, whatever the charge. If you're able to show value, you can reap money. You can reap money. I have no doubt. So be ready for changes in your area of expertise. Keep tabs on. Price differentiation in war. This trend I particularly want to touch a little bit. There'll be a lot of price war there. Already, we have seen a lot of undercutting in the physical environment. This will be even more because now the technology will help you to create same experience for others very easily. So basically, I create once and then sell it across. So this is where the retail prices are expected to go down. Those astronomical figures that we were used to earlier in the physical classroom environment, because of scarcity of my dates, my availability, etc. It's no longer going to be there because I don't need physical things. For instance, there is this international motivator from India. I wouldn't name him. When we wanted to invite him for a sales meet, he told us I would charge 10 lakh rupees a day plus airfare, business class. Hello, somebody's mic is on. Looks like. Yeah. So he asked for business class, for 5-star stay, particular Mercedes for pickup and drop and travel, etc. So this is all going to be different. Now, you may expect, so the strategy here will be different, which I'm going to connect in the final section. New age training evaluations will be there in place. So earlier we were talking about reactions, learning, behavior, results, RLBR framework, and many other evaluation framework. Particularly, my favorite is the Kirkpatrick's one. So now, perhaps digitally, you will measure many more things just other than the reaction. Reaction alone, we had no option. So when our businesses used to ask ट्रेनिंग कैसा रहा, हम बोलते थे अच्छा रहा, लोग बहुत enjoy कर गए, participate कर रहे थे. ये आप कैसे decide कर रहे हो? Because you are able to observe their reaction, you are able to see their participation, and that's how you concluded. But in a virtual environment, when you and participants alone are there, nobody is dropping in. How would you prove that? Or when you have created a course, put it up there, and people are seeing in their own time. That is called asynchronous in the learning language. So how do you know that? The new evaluations will tell me how many clicks have happened, what time he has spent, how much, which part of the course he has liked most, which part he has not given proper feedback to, or has he gone through the path, learning path that I have created, and things like that. So this is where get ready for the new age evaluation terminologies and methods, and shape of employment in L&D will be impacted. We may see less physical vacancies, but uh, when one door closes, the other door opens. In simple words, you will get more vacancies in the other areas like content designing, virtual administration, virtual coaching, e mentoring, e grooming, and things like that. So as I was sharing, we have also shared that in the other course there that the average salaries of e tutor and teachers in US are around $1,20,000 a year. Correct. So this is where you could see some changes up there as well. And besides that, when you create a good course, people would buy it, and that's there. The sky is limit. So employment is going to change. Now, all said and done, I could say from the trends that there are interesting times ahead. There is never before an opportunity which is coming up, and this is where I believe I can definitely say with confidence that there are interesting times ahead for those who are willing to, you know, take charge and really go into it and not behave like an illiterate meant by Alvin Toffler. A quick feedback before I end up in next about 5 to 6 minutes. Is it going as per the expectations? Just type Y if it is. Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead. Let's just move a little bit in the direction. So let's come to the strategies. But oh, sorry, I added this section. Oh, my bad. My request to all of you. Sorry, I completely forgot that this is. So I would require about 5 more minutes of your time. Do I have the permission to continue about 5 more minutes? Please tell why. If it is because this.
Please go ahead.
Yeah,
Shripat,
thank
please
you.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So basically, hard facts about e-learning world or digital learning. Perhaps some of you may already be into this, but for the purpose of everyone, I thought let me just share only about 2 facts, not many. The first and the foremost is there was this popular serial called Game of Thrones, GOT, right? I call it GOP, Game of Patience. Uh, the numbers, the people who made tons and tons of money, I've shown them they played this well, they got rewarded. You play this well, you will be rewarded. Patience is the golden trait at this moment. Do things, learn the virtual environment with patience. Try to adjust, adapt with patience. Let the trends clarity emerge with patience, and you will be rewarded. So, e-learning is a game of patience. Even when you try to design models, even when you try change your programs from classroom to virtual room, okay, it is not just the same of uploading a PowerPoint up there. It goes through numerous process. The other day a friend of mine who is a teacher was given a task to create the school video and put it up there. So he called me up completely exhausted saying, Shripa, 3 minutes video took 3 days for me to craft it. And I said, why? Because he said when I started doing this, I realized that everyone is doing it in different way, too many ifs and buts. But he said I stuck to it, and finally, when I gave it to my principal, principal said that's wonderful. I felt like I have achieved. I've climbed Mount Everest. So it's a game of patience. Let me not give you a rosy picture here. I hope you would pardon me for telling you the reality, because if I don't tell you, who else will? Right? So secondly, this is a popular saying in our e-learning. Nothing to do with animal lovers. This is I'm not actually killing or eating an elephant. This refers to the kind of learning approach called micro learning. So the answer is how to eat an elephant bit by bit. How to eat an elephant bit by bit. In other words, if you have tons and tons of material, how would you pass it on to the participants? Bit by bit. Small, bite-sized learning. Micro learning is catching in rapidly. Insta is a super hit because of that. TikTok was a super hit because of that. They captured on bite-sized things. So a 1 minute video or a 3 minute video with some style things and it became instantly viral. Of course, I'm not telling you to behave like TikTokians, but of course, what I mean by that is micro learning will be the norm of the day. So if you have tons and tons of knowledge, you are a learned exponent of particular, let's say, communication, presentation, whatever skills you have. Start thinking micro. Start thinking about micro capsules of what you know, and you'll realize that you're sitting on a mountain of capsules. No problem. You have too many things, so you will have too big a mountain of the small things. No worries. Translate them into course and then pass it on to the participants. So that's second fact and behavior related to that. Please know that God lies in details when it comes to e-learning. You have to define everything. Machine doesn't understand. Machine is dumb, moron. Artificial intelligence will take over human beings, as they say, in 2030, 2040. But till then, it is a moron. So if you don't say this, machine won't say this. If you don't define that participant have to click here, it won't tell participants to click here. If you don't tell machine that first let them solve a quiz and then only allow them to go ahead. So if you don't tell this to machine, machine will simply allow them to go ahead. I'm just giving popular simple examples to make you understand. So you have to not just see mota moti in our language, but you have to define that to the micro possible level. So, for example, some companies who are progressive were earlier doing things called LGs or FGs, learners guide, learners guide or facilitators guide, wherein they used to say at 3 minutes 23 seconds, show this slide and say these words, use this example. Then the guide used to say generate discussion, and discussion was left to the participant. Now e-learning starts at generate discussions page. You still have to define all those things, and then your detailing has to happen even below. What questions to be asked, what answer you can expect, what branching can happen. The more deeper you delve in, the more successful your learning would be. Please remember, showing them like leadership is this, model is this, and doing is that. They're all broad level things. That still does not mean they have learned, because in the classroom you can ask questions to understand and get feedback. But in the virtual environment, when you're not around, when your presentation is being played to them, you have to ensure whether they have learned it or not. Otherwise, in the end quiz, they're going to fail. They're going to fail, and then your learning will be unsuccessful. So God lies in detail. Detailing is time consuming, detailing is exhaustive, and if a small mistake happens there, redo it. So please, I'm not scaring you, but I'm telling you a hard cold fact. When we design a course module or a course content, we go through minute details. At least कौन सा picture कौन से slide में कौन से coordinates पे आना इतना भी हम minute decide करते हैं. And every picture, everything is an asset. So in a course we have thousands of assets because we use multiple pictures, we use animations, etc. So इसका सबका track रखना पड़ता है. So one valuable skill as a trainer for you would be, if you are a person of a details, if you are happy to handle details and you can very comfortably maneuver through projects, etc. Perhaps you have a new career opening called training project management or training project management skills, because we would need that badly. We don't have it, technically speaking. Greek, Latin, I mean, when somebody speaks something that we don't understand, we say, are you speaking Greek or Latin? English, please. Well, welcome to the world of e-learning, where your classroom language is not the same as virtual learning language. The language here would be different. Here you will talk about learning objectives, which are common, I understand. Here you will talk about motion, here you will talk about quizzes, here you will have to talk about interventions, here you will have to talk about restrictions, etc. And these are new terminologies. If you have not used them earlier, no worries. We have a glossary in our course. You just go through that. You will pick up some things on the job. You will learn them by heart. But this language is different than your speed training language. Learn this language to have a smooth journey. That's how it is. And it's very natural because even when we go to the other countries, other parts where the language is different, we try to learn, pick up few words. Here we have to now get in our here we have to take our life into new domain. So there it's quicker you learn the language, the better would be. What is a module? What is a topic? What is a learning activity? What is a learning resource? These are all language terms that you need to be familiar with. Hand holding is must. See, I have seen some of my trainers. They wanted to save some money, so they have not come to consultations, coaching, etc. Perhaps they are discovering it the hard way around, and that's okay. If you have time, if you have patience, and if you know where to search for, you can discover this. There is nothing hard and fast in the world of e-learning. All you need to do is simply know where to look and simply have the patience to go along with that. But if you have hand holding, your journey will be faster, your adaptation and money making will be quicker. So let's come to the final part. I hope these 5 facts will get you, on the ground. I have listed 6 strategies quickly for the future to come in, for the future to be a better future, right? The first and the foremost strategy that you must decide for yourself is what's going to be your value and volume play. So as Michael Porter earlier also said in the uh, strategic papers, he's a strategy guru of the world, like Philip Kotler, who's a marketing guru. So Michael Porter had given us differentiation. How are you going to differentiate in this crowded marketplace? Is it going to be value-based thing? So you say I'm the exponent of leadership in this entire country. So my modules will be very different than them. Hence they are charged at premium. That could be one of the things. Volume is you would say I know I am an exponent of certain particular psychometric assessment or a methodology or a way of coaching counseling. Therefore, I would offer this as an experience, and I would get more and more people at a smaller value. Typically, in past, e-learning has been successful as a volume game, high volume, low value. So as I told you, for example, John Purcell, he delivered a lot of, about 10, 12 lakh students at a per student income of about $5 or $4. So this is where value volume is what you have to decide. Now you might say that some part of my expertise I would reserve it as a premium one. Some part which can be given away easily, I would rather give it free or at a very notional value. Now that choice is yours. You need to know where to draw which line. Connect with us and we can help you there to package. This is a consultative discovery process. This is where uh, people like us we contribute a lot to your packaging and development. Work on your business model. As I shared earlier, how much is the free part that you would offer? How much is freemium or an experience based thing? So come experience my model like Coursera does. Experience this. If you are satisfied, pay for the remaining thing. And then how much could be premium? So now let's say for example there is a Udemy instructor called Vanessa Van Edwards, one of my favorites. So she started as an instructor who offered free courses in business, body language and behavioral psychology. And based on that, she pretty soon saw about 2.5 3 lakh students who paid her small amounts. So there again, she packaged something. So whatever she used to say on business shows or public shows, she packaged in the course there. And soon she saw about $4 at the rate of 2 lakh students. And now, based on that success, she runs something called a specialized school, grooming school, where she charges about $3,000, $4,000 fees and only about 2 batches a year. That's her premium content, which she does not share on the other platforms. So you have to decide on your business model, and you need to have a platform as well. I hope I'm going a bit faster because I'm also conscious about your time that you are sharing with me. So if you need more details, I'm happy to connect offline and have a one-on-one. The other competencies that you must develop as a personal strategy is we call Fantastic Four. Now that's something what I call it. What are those? AVSD. AVSD is audio, video, sound, and design. Your e-learning module is an output of these 4 competencies or are these 4 processes. And uh, this is where your design matters a lot. So as a trainer, you must be able to play with all 3 or 4. I'm not saying you don't. All of us know how to make PowerPoint slides. All of us know how to import videos. All of us know, how to actually try and create something like a video plus me is equal to delivery. But when I talk about competencies, it is the command over it. It is the ability to manipulate sounds, videos, images, and things like that to create the, to rather produce the content of my thoughts and then design an experience using that. So these four competencies are the ones which really help you. And why these four? Because this is what creates a user experience. In simple words, user sees the outcome of AVSD, and that's where you need to have this AVSD in place, right? So this is where Fantastic Four will help you pick up some courses in such things, and I guess they would help you. Or hand holding में हो जाता है, I believe. So the other important strategy which you must follow is network and collaborate. People like us are into the enablement space. We don't sell our modules. We help you sell your modules. So collaborate with people like us and consult and put it up there. Collaborate with platforms, maybe like what is that? Teachable or SkillX Global for that purpose. It shouldn't sound like I'm advertising mine. Please don't misunderstand me. There are many platforms who would enable you to do that. So collaborate with them. Network with other professionals who may benefit from you. Evolve your models. Like for instance, one model could be upfront charging. The second model could be course revenue sharing. So you could collaborate with a designer who designed the part of your delivery and you share the revenues. There are many ways of doing that, and keep it open. Creativity is the you know rescue thing. So for example, there are new age models where I charge you for certain design aspect. I share the course part. So some platforms like Coursera, Udemy share the revenue, but they market for you. So you may have two or three professionals associated with you. Someone who gives you design and tech support, someone who gives you marketing support, and you are focused on your technical or your subject matter expertise. So that frees you from all this botheration. You don't have to reinvent it. So all I'm saying is that there are various strategies of networking and collaboration. You find out which one suits. The second last strategy is research and practice. Please remember, you're a part researcher, part practitioner now. I would like to ask you a very simple question. Have you seen mobile companies launching new, mobiles models? Answer is yes. Have you seen insurance companies launching new products? Answer is yes. Have you seen pharma companies launching new products? Yes. How much of amount of research, how much of amount of market study, how much of amount of efforts go into making of that product? Enormous. I have a basic question. If your modules are your product, how much of amount of research are you putting in? How much of amount of design thought you are putting in? How much of amount of market sensitivity you are tapping into? That's precisely what I'm saying. It is easier to do control C, control V, but it is easier to get caught in the digital world also. There are plugins, there are softwares which can tell you how much you have copied from what extent, from what website. A friend of mine, his son was thrown out of IIM Ahmedabad. Why? Because only 20% of his content was found to be copied, and IIM Ahmedabad has very low tolerance. So what happens if you tell the company that this is my content and this is what you produce, and company runs a software check and says, sorry, Mr. Parkhe, this is not your content, this is someone else's already. Imagine. So you need to research, you need to create your own and practice, design newer things, newer vistas. Digitally, when the content is up there, it is more easily, it can be caught more easily than in the physical world. Please understand this. Let me sound a word of caution to you as well. So part researcher, part practitioner, part designer. You have to juggle between these. I'm not scaring you, but I'm encouraging you to think originally. Here is your chance to go beyond Control C, Control V, or Google for that matter. We still refer to Google. I'm not saying don't refer to Google, but now here is your chance to be original. Here is your chance to be much more. I'm sure you would be doing it. Please don't get me wrong, and don't even think that I'm actually, you know, I'll be saying that you are not, you may not be doing it. Sorry, you would be, correct? So this is where we're talking about research and practice. Continue doing that. This is where a lot of original content would attract more money as compared to easily available copied content. And finally, the last strategy that I would recommend is blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean has been one of the phenomenally successful approach to highly competitive markets. I teach this as a part of my competitive strategy teaching. So I'm sure previously when I mentioned it, some curious ones among you would have already done your homework and tried to find out what is your blue ocean. But if not so, it's still the time. In a red ocean and blue ocean are two oceans. That's what they suggest. So a red ocean is highly competitive, where cutthroat competition exists and a lot of margins are less, the similar products, etc., etc. Typically like our scenario. So when I say communication skills program, you would have tons and tons of people applying there, trainers applying there. Fact. So here is a red ocean. Now, what kind of blue ocean would exist for me? Could the blue ocean be in terms of being a virtual coach? Could the blue ocean be in terms of sectors that I have not tapped in so far? Could the blue ocean be in terms of no, not finding your USP. No, blue ocean is different, and USP. USP is unique selling proposition inside you. Blue ocean is outside you. The new environment, the new marketplaces, the new products that you have not still tried, the newer ways that you have not explored. That's blue ocean. So basically, blue ocean is newer opportunities moving away from the competitive market. So let's put things into perspective. A, we're talking about learning from past. The learning from past says, yeah, of course, learning. There is a good. The happy days are here. In future, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The competencies or the trends tell us that a lot of things are going to change very rapidly. So agility becomes the hallmark. The third thing that says is the hard facts tell us that it's not easy, but it is definitely possible, doable. And finally, these six strategies tell us that if you focus on the business model which is suitable to you and your expertise, if you focus on your AVSD or fantastic core competencies, then you collaborate and network to actually connect with complementing professionals, platforms, and marketplaces, including Blue Ocean, you will discover your values from different parameters. So ultimately, I always keep telling to the trainers, teachers in my technology enabled teaching. I've been conducting these programs for years now, technology enabled teaching. So I always tell them this equation, and one of that is particular one which I have applied for corporate also, which is SME plus EQ plus DQ is equal to success. So in simple words, SME is subject matter expertise. EQ is completely known to you. DQ, like EQ, is the ability to understand the digital opportunities, translate them into opportunities, and command over certain required digital interventions, software, etc. So DQ is a broad term. So you already are SM subject matter expertise. You are emotionally, very much an enlightened individual. Now it's time to up your DQ, and when you up your DQ, you will be able to see, you'll be able to adapt to the new digital environment or dynamic learning environment more quickly. You will be with a better understanding of technologies. You'll be able to see the connect much rapidly, adjust, adapt, and evolve much faster. So this is where I come to the end of my session. Uh, I would be happy to take the question and answers right now. And I'm sorry I've overshot the time. Apologies for that. So I'm open to question and answers. If you want to connect with me, you can send a mail to connect@skillxglobal.com. If you have a
Yes.
business query question, you can replace connect to see you at
I
Skillx Global.
People,
Yeah.
is
yes.
Shripal. Hi, this is Abhishek Sengupta. May I ask a question now, or we have to text it to you?
Should I just take the ones which are already pasted there? You may ask me at the end also. I'm okay with that.
Abhishek, yes.
Sandeep, your
Abhishek,
call.
yes.
Your call.
Yeah, thank you. Shripad, thank you so much for your, insights. And
Hmm.
there are three more, fundamentals you have told. If you can't see opportunity, open your eyes. So please do open your eyes. And then e-learning fundamental, that is eat elephant bit by bit. That is great, very great lines. So I have jotted down couple of questions and pasted in front of you.
Yeah, one
Please see
is
those.
question number one is training and learning department. If not, then what will replace or kick out the department? No, this is what I shared the observation of Google's learning and development head. So perhaps I would still see training department reduced in terms of vendor selection, system administration, and processing, and more of strategic works like where the trends are going and what opportunities, etc. So the training and learning department size would shrink. That's what my take is. It still remains because you still need a a consultant or expert to make sense out of the. So CEO is not a know-all person. CEO is more of a strategician. So as much he needs inputs from marketing, he would also need inputs from learning and development. So I would see it more shrinking, but still remaining in the setup. Will DVLE replace schooling system? No, it would remain schooling system as we understand school. Uh, if you see organization, it has learning and development as one part of it. Marketing is another. IT is third. So there was a package called ERP, right? Enterprise Resource Planning. The similar way in the modern organization schooling context, you still need learning environment which would take care of learning and development. There will be an administration environment. At the moment, the virtual learning environments do not include that to a great extent, like for example, payment of fees, etc. So these environments will have to be there. So a merger of that would be school ERP, which probably I see the road ahead. I see the road ahead. Or I would see the dynamic environments actually including modules of the student management or admin and becoming a comprehensive system. That's the next level of evolution. From information to collaboration, I have explained that, I guess.
Yes, yes.
The fourth question is what would be the tentative time duration for each stage? I'm sorry, I really don't know what time duration. Which stages are you referring to? I mean, if you're looking at evolution, some who has asked this question? Could you please unmute and add a bit more?
Whoever posted that was talking about the survival to adaptation to
Okay.
thriving.
Right. Fair. So I would really see it's your domain, how quickly you adapt and how quickly you try to push ahead. So it's completely individual driven. Same applies to companies. What would be the training that ends with hand holding, OJT? Sorry, the question is a bit unclear. Training that ends
The
with
question is that there are trainings which have a part of hand holding as well as the OJT. What will happen to those hand holding and
they
OJT
remain. They
part?
remain.
How it
They
can
remain. So see, for example, there is a software. There is a company called Zimmer in US. Zimmer is specialist in orthopedic surgical, equipments, including robotics. So Zimmer, I have had a friend who has worked on e-learning for doctors. So they have simulated virtual environments where a doctor sitting in India can still do a virtual surgery using Zimmer equipment virtually kind of things happening. But I guess that's a little very intensely highly
correct.
investment oriented environment, but that would still
Hmm.
remain given the kind of investment budgets, etc. Hand holding would be there as a part of it, and of course shop floor and all can't simply be virtualized. I still maintain that. So will DVLE, sorry, next question is how to appeal
Six.
VAK styles of various audience. Is it is it challenge? Just give me a moment.
Yeah, Mr. Sripal, my question related to which stage it takes which time. It's about survival, adaptation, and thriving. That's
Yeah,
the question which I got.
my answer is individual driven.
Okay, thank you.
You may adapt faster than me. I may be a little bit slower in that. So it's up to you. If you see kids, my daughter who is 19-year-old, she's a language coach. So I just showed her a few things of the dynamic learning environment that I have, that's SkillX Global, and today she knows much more than me, and she's already using a blended model to teach her students to coach on spoken English and things like that. It was just about initial 30-minute session, but I took a longer time to faster. Hello. Yeah. So if somebody is interested, one who would go ahead faster. Now, how do you do a VAK? Right. VAK is what is that? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Right. Three learning styles. So how to appeal? Yeah, you have authoring tools. Authoring tools are nothing but softwares that would help you use different things like a visual experience may include video, may include simulations, may include watching images, etc. Auditory is obviously sound part of it. Somebody asked me what is sound part of it. Sound is more of dealing with sounds, creating podcasts, editing them, creating sound collages, etc. Because teachers need a lot of sound editing abilities. So, uh, how do we appeal to VAK? Use various softwares when you design your training program. Try to bring in a variety, because audience is driven by variety, not just by what do I say, unilateral style of delivery. And this is where VAK, because in traditional classroom we used to animate ourselves, we used to present, we used to do voice modulations, we used to include games, etc. So that kinesthetic also was taken care of. But in the auditory learning, in the virtual learning, you have to actually replace it with exercises. So we must be ready to be era of internet when the humans will were replaced by machines. No, we won't be replaced by machines. I'm not talking about Terminator series. Sorry. Training evaluation can be an SME, as we need new models. Sorry, this question is unclear. Let me go to the next question. What kind of sound are we talking about? I think I have answered that. VAK stands for Visual Auditory TK. There's an e-learning course on is good. Thank you. On the certificate, thanks a lot. It exposes you to basics of e-learning. Okay. Any other quick question? Now we can unmute, I guess so.
Hi, Abhishek Sengupta here. I had just
Yes,
two
Abhishek.
questions
Yeah.
and two thoughts actually. I just wanted, these are not questions actually, these are thoughts which I wanted to you to share with me.
Okay.
One is I wanted to ask whether we will now look at more of specialists rather than generalists. So like in HR, the specialists are more paid in their domain generally. That's what it's looked into, and they're considered niche or champions in their domain. Will
All right.
that be a trend in L&D? That's my
one.
first question.
Second.
And the second question is this is a very dicey question. Is there a possibility that there would be a few customers who would be confused and to some extent duped in terms of the quality? Because there might be, and I'm being very open about it, there might be few people who would make wonderful content design with teasers. But what actually the L&D thing which comes out can only be seen, because it's an intangible, can only be seen when it is displayed, and therefore they invest a lot of money, and therefore they later on come to know that this is exactly not what we had looked for. Whereas in
Okay.
physical intervention, chances of that is lesser.
Okay. See, first
Those were the two
question.
questions. Thank you.
Sorry, I was reading something. So first question, could you just briefly reconnect me with the first question?
First
Abhishek.
question was, yes, the first question was, is there a possibility that specialists would be given more
Sorry.
importance compared to
Reconnecting.
generalists?
Sorry, my bad. I was thinking many things at the same time. So specialists would be in demand. Yes, e-learning specialists, especially content writers, etc., would be in demand as compared to general trainers, training managers. So to be specific, right? Secondly, duping or cheating, teasers dikha ke, getting them to buy something which is completely in contrast with the teasers. That may happen. That may happen. I don't even I may dread to see this scenario, but that's where content screening, random content chunking, and content specifications will have to be done. So, for instance, why do some of the e-learning projects fail in the past? We have seen a lot of e-learning projects being conceived and failing. One of the biggest reasons is that expectations mismatch. I expect a Hollywood grade content, whereas I get not even a Nukkad grade content. Okay, but then when you expect a Hollywood grade content, you should be in a position to pay for Hollywood grade budget also. But the bad thing that happens in e-learning till date is client gives me a budget of a Nukkad grade, TikTok video, and expects a Hollywood grade, Avatar grade outcome, or a Bahubali type outcome. So this is where there will be a lot of discussions, debates, and pre-project discussions will assume more importance here. So this is where more of expectation clarifications can save the day for both the parties, because as much as contractor is putting in money and effort, so is the client's expectations. So once you start putting in at the beginning, it is client's tranche that is paid. Let's say 1/3 or 1/5 or one half. But once the client starts expecting, then clients have also played foul there. So the cheating abilities or capacity or possibilities are on both the sides. I can't eliminate that out. Let me come to Umesh Suman's question, which he has been asking earlier also. Sorry, Umesh, to this thing. What was your question about gamification? Right. So gamification, because a lot of comments are coming here. Gamification is not
Yes, Mr. Shripad, are you there? Mr. Shripad, are you there? Yeah, Mr. Shripad. Shripad, আমাদেরই কেটে গেছে।
I think
Hello.
I think there is a technical glitch at his side.
Yes. Yes. Hello.
I kind
Shripad.
of lost the whole thing when Shripad was explaining the answer to my question. So I'm wondering whether it
Yes.
is my connection issue or a technical glitch.
No, you are
It's
still
a
there.
technical issue actually.
The question connection is there. Answer connection is not there.
There must be a weightage of that question couldn't handle the web couldn't handle that.
Yes. This is one demerit of our future trend. Calling me, wait. Hello. Okay. So I'm just finishing up. So we can be. Your PPT is still there. So we will ask them to write you. Okay. Okay. Not an issue. I will end it. Okay. Let me end it. Yeah, Rajat here. Hello.
Yes,
Hello, Rajat.
please.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
just Mr. Shripad called and he said there is a network issue with him, so he lost. Still,
Yeah,
can you put all on mute? Can you put all on mute?
Sure.
Can you hear me, Rajat? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that Shripad?
Yeah. I think I'm reconnected. So it's just that concluding remarks I wanted to say. Gamification is obviously incorporating principles. So there are learning games, there are badges, and there are things like small enablements which you can do inside the dynamic learning environment or LMS. So if you want more, you can connect always offline with me. So I'm handing over back to Rajat. Thank you so much, Rajat.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shripad. It was a great evening, all of us. So we had 100 people, still more people wanted to join. And the way Mr. Shripad took us in a time machine, another 20 years ahead of us, right? So we all thought we are in a new planet now. Now we just come. Now this future trend is really something coming up now because I just wanted to meet Mr. Shripad for the last 5 years. We couldn't meet. But finally, we met and we had a lot of friends. Once upon a time we had pen friends also, and that's how we increase our friendship. Now we have a new trend which is a virtual friends, and today all virtual friends are there within 60 days of lockdown. So this future trend is increasing our capacity of connecting with people because maybe of this future trend and lockdown. We are able to see Mr. Shripad. Otherwise, every time he say, whenever you come to Mumbai, let's meet, or whenever I come to Pune, let's meet. But this virtual trend has really brought this all 100 people on one stage. Mr. Shripad could have given so many of knowledge to 100 people at one point of time in 1 hour time. So again, this is a future trend, and from 100 to we can go to 1,000 also. So it's unlimited. So the way we gear up in our future, I think we'll be more connected. We can improve on our skills on this part. So that's all from my side. Thanks all of you that you have joined here. And again, with work-life balance. So that's all from my side. And be connected with Mr. Shripad in our group also of Best Facilitator. And please increase the number of posts and your feedback on Best Facilitator. And please be in touch with Mr. Shripad. That's all from my end. Yes, Mr. Host, Mr. Sandeep.
Shripad, thank you, Rajat. And Shripad, thank you so much for such a great insight. From last time, it was again a new addition in your, your insights. Some pluses over there. and I've already quoted them your fundamentals and your mantras. Okay, so thank you
Okay.
so much for your eye-opening session. Actually, many people are
All right.
complimenting like it's an eye opener. So really, you
Okay.
have that shaken them to see. अरे भाई अभी नहीं देख रहे हो आंखें खोलो देर हो जाएगी. So we are very happy from a group of best facilitators that yes, and Honeybee Connecting that you have really opened up the eyes of trading fraternity. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Shripad, and we'll definitely look forward to again connect for, as Raja said, not 100 but to thousands of through us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a ton.
Okay, can we end?
Okay. Yes. So we are
Bye.
going to end up.
Bye. Bye.
Very good evening.